our buddy Noodles. Sitting
6 minutes.
Waiting and enjoying the show.
Oh,
Maybe
no.
more. I don't know, but it was very good.
Oh, it was
Very good banter, yelling and screaming about, do we have 2 Four Nations defensemen on the team? And Rhett's like, I don't care about that tournament. And then, I mean, listen, I enjoy being a fan of the show. I can sit here and watch all day. I don't have to talk. It's good. I mean, you guys know I love you. It's all good.
Thanks, James. Appreciate it.
What's up?
Well, we're just oddly, we're here after a Flames. I mean, they were handily beaten last night, 3-1 in Vancouver. If anything, the score may be a little flattering. They were out of gas. They played in Buffalo, came home, played LA, fly to Vancouver, play the Canucks. They're out of gas. But we're not overly critical. This was, as we said, this is kind of one of those games you look ahead in the schedule. That's going to be a rough one.
Yeah.
And it kind of was.
I don't even remember. There's always bad points in the schedule. I think that's about as bad as you've.
That one stuck out to you right off.
3rd and 4, second half of a back-to-back, 3 different cities, 3 different time zones, and 5 and 8. Like, it's nuts.
That is, somebody from the schedule maker should be fired. Because
now, wait, Noodles. They play once in the next 7 days.
I know, but so what? Like, we're in Buffalo. Hey, we're in Boston and Buffalo, and then we're in Vancouver. And good luck with your body clock. Like,
we'll
play a home game against LA in between those.
Throw in a home game in there. I'm sorry. I understand there's, the schedule maker has lots to do. There's building availability, all of that. You got to make it all fit. But at some point, when you take a look at the schedule, every team gets a peek at the schedule. You got to circle that and go, what the hell are you guys doing here? Like, that's really what it is. I think, the verbiage we always use sometimes is like, you can expect a scheduled loss. I would have guessed that was going to be a scheduled loss last night, just based on the schedule, the back-to-back situation. I thought Vladar was good. Like, there was some, to me, there were a couple bright spots where you're like, okay, it could have been the doors could have got blown off. It didn't. I don't know about Vancouver. They're a team that they're an enigma for me. I think they look like world beaters one night, and then they look pedestrian on other nights. But I thought, when you're talking about defensemen and guys that maybe could fade into the background, I think Ball is serviceable. I look at that. Give me a Miramanov.
Yeah, Miramanov.
I agree with you guys. I think if you don't notice him, that's a good thing. Number 44 there, when I noticed him some nights, it may not have been the best thing. You're like, geez, that's not a good play.
Retro saw you on Sports Desk last night.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm the same way. I walked into my kids' hockey the other night, and Mike Camilleri goes, hey, my son was watching YouTube videos of Pavel Bure, and you're the number 1 on the list of him. I'm like, yes, that's a bad poke check by Jamie. But, like, stuff like that. When you're on the highlights for a negative reason, that's when you get noticed. Like, I'll call a game, and if I don't say a guy's name, if you're an offensive guy, that you're having a quiet night. But if you're a stay-at-home defenseman and you don't hear that guy's name, sometimes less is more. So I think Miramanov is a guy that can fall into that, like, give you good minutes, and if you don't notice him getting rinsed, that's a good thing.
It's the one thing that we kind of just assessing this team coming in. We don't think it's going to be a playoff team, could be a bad team. There's going to be some offense there. The forwards are still okay. But what about this blue line? And what about this goaltenders? The goaltenders are really going to need some help from the D because they're kind of unproven. Vladar's played more than obviously Wolf has. But if you're going to go with Wolf here as a young guy, he's a rookie, you're going to need better defensive play in front of him. This could be a rough situation. Now, 17 games, it may still turn out to be that. But the goaltending and the defense have been, I don't want to overstate it, significantly, marginally, whatever, but it's been better than we thought it was going to be.
Yep. And I would agree, but even if you don't think this is a playoff team, which I don't think anybody chose the Flames to be a playoff team, I never thought they were going to be, crappy bottom last 2 in the league, like scraping up on San Jose or something like that. Like, I always felt with the team they have, and we talked about it, and I feel like we've over talked about it, but Hubert, like if Huberdeau could just go from 45 or whatever it is, 50 to, if he could have a 70-point season, that those extra points translate to goals and him doing something special. Like I think you look at guys like Connor Zary taking another step. This Coronado, he's a player. Like he's a player. So, is there going to be a little dip on a rookie and a guy who's smaller and whatever? But I think he's got some piss and vinegar to him. He's got a little FU in his game where it's like, everybody's always underestimated me, and I'm just going to go and make some special plays. So, I look at it. Bax hasn't taken a step off. Like he looks solid, scored a couple of big goals. Like, so if they're not going to be a playoff team, they might be in that next group, that tweener of pushing for playoff. That's where I feel like, and I know I'm looking at the look on your face there, Pinder. You don't think that they're going to be playing meaningful hockey in March?
No, I'm not saying what I think. I'm just worried. That's literally worst case scenario. Their pick goes to Montreal if it's not top 10 after the lottery. And so what will you have achieved if you finish 15th in the NHL and then shuttle that first rounder to Montreal and you keep Florida's instead and Florida's picking 28? How does that help you in the long term? I understand that would feel good this year, but that literally is the worst case scenario. You finishing 11th to 16th because it means you miss the playoffs and you're not keeping your own first rounder, which would be the highest of the three that they hold right now.
So that's the philosophy,
Jersey's Montreal.
Right? But that's not what he's saying. He's not saying it'd be best for the team to do it.
No, he looked at my face and said, "You don't think they're going to do that?" I'm saying, no, I'm worried about that happening. I think it is.
So that was, you were just clarifying the look on your face. That's basically what you were doing.
I'm worried what you're saying is true.
Well, I feel it is. Like, I tell me I'm wrong. Like with what you're seeing and what the capability of some of the players on that roster, that's not a bottom 5 team.
You said it yesterday. Yeah, well, what do you need? Do you need round numbers? Does it need to be the 20-game mark? Does it be 22, 25? They're far higher up the docket than I thought they were going to be.
Sure. Yeah. The over-under was 81.5 points for this team. The over's got a really good head start here.
I was going to say, and I don't want to upset you again. I don't want to see another look on your face there, Pinder, but I feel like it's going to be 85 and north type of thing. Like you can get into there if you get Wolf that continues to progress, look good the other night. If some of these players now, again, are you going to sell off at the deadline?
That's my question. That's what I was just going to say. Doesn't that give Conroy another issue? Is if they are in it? Come on, we all believe that he had the intention of putting this team together, getting to the trade deadline. And maybe he wasn't thinking San Jose bad or the worst team in the league, but he was thinking sell. Going into the season, he's going, I'm selling at the deadline.
I think he still is, even if they're playoff spot. The real sales pieces are only Kuzmenko and Vladar. You already have an elite AHL goalie you want to look at, and Kuzmenko's not been central to their success. I think you're still selling.
I think you're selling.
Marie,
you might surprise yourself. You might pull a Nashville. Was it Nashville or what was one of the teams that was selling off and they took off?
Nashville 2 years ago in Winnipeg swooned. They almost caught him. Yeah.
You might find yourself. Now, again, what is the mandate from ownership? What does Craig Conroy want to do? I think I know they're problems, but are they positive problems to have where it's like, hey, Zari's pushed forward. We didn't think he was going to be this good that early. Coronado, we didn't think he was good. These are still decent problems to have. You just have to adjust how you're going to deal with them. Now, the first rounder, you might get jammed up in that. You might flat out get, unless you find a deal that brings you something back, that replaces that type of deal involved. What did you say that first rounder is going to drop to?
Well, if it's a top 10 pick, they keep their own. Otherwise, it goes to Montreal. They also have New Jersey's first rounder from the Markstrom trade and Florida's first rounder from the Tkachuk trade. So you might have 2 picks in the high 20s. So
they're going to be high 20s
together, right?
Yeah, both of those teams are going to be near the top of the league. So there's going to be high 20s. But he might be able to, spin something at the deadline, or there's going to be some moving pieces where you might be able to get a higher first rounder or do something there or get a live body.
The other point that I think we have to remember, they were 1 point out of a playoff spot in February last year. They finished 9th from the bottom.
Yeah.
So it's like, how does it look? And if you are keen to look at kids, understanding it won't be pretty, you'll see it in the standings. They're a part of a clump that there's like 6-8 teams that are rammed right together in terms of projected totals now after the start.
Yeah.
6 to 14 right now is really jammed from the bottom. I still think bottom 10 is possible, but yeah, it's a way better start than any of us saw coming.
What could be funny and not funny, but it's like, okay, so they're gonna bottom right out, get a top pick, finish 12th, 13th. Okay, well, that first rounder's now gone to Montreal. Well, we're gonna trade Mantha and get something for him. So Mantha's out for the season. You're not trading him for anything. Well, Kuzmenko, you'll get something for him.
Actually, isn't.
I'm not really sure what you're gonna get for Kuzmenko.
Yeah, like
This 1 year of pain and suffering that you're going to endure to get prospects and more picks and all that. What if it ends up being zero? That you end up with those 2 first rounders, and that's
okay.
what
So
it ends up being.
let me get crazy here then. Maybe it's Rasmus Andersson that brings you a boatload at the deadline. It's an offer that you can't refuse.
And that's the type of deal that I worry about Murray more than selling UFA rentals, because he's a guy, Rasmus, who has been very transparent. He never really speaks cryptically. If the team's competitive, he'll want to stay. And he's probably going to command like 8 times 8 as he heads into his 30s on that deal. That could work. But you also have Mackenzie Weegar locked in for another 6 years. You also have Brstevich and Perrick on the right side. That's 4 righties. It's an interesting conversation because Rasmus has been great. He's been one of your best players this year. He should be immensely valuable, but he's also the type of guy that you could try to replace him for 5 years of drafting. It might not happen.
You're right. It just, I think you have to look at the player. I don't know him behind the scenes. I don't know if he's a fitness freak. I don't know if he's a guy that will age well, based on, you see it, guys. We see it all the time where there's a guy you go, geez, I love him at 29. What's he going to look like at 33?
Right.
There's a few players I've played with who ate themselves out of the league, and it is what it is. But my point being is with Rasmus Andersson, I think there's a win-win with him. If you want to keep him, you'll find a number for him to keep if he wants to stay. If you want to move him, that's a king's ransom, because there would be a lineup of teams that would want a right shot defenseman who can run a power play. And if you want to extend him, you'd find a cap structure for him. So that's where, we're talking about, hey, we're going to lose a pick to Montreal. You might get 2 picks for Rasmus. You might be able to get 2 first rounders for him if you've got a desperate team. So again, I'm not trading him. I'm not saying trade him. I'm just saying that from now, game 17 to game, we'll call it 50, 45, whatever that's going to be.
Yeah.
This team might look a lot different if, and your return might look a lot different if you decide to move away from Andersson and maybe Weegar's in play. I don't know. It might be something different. I don't know.
Yeah. If you think about 2 playoff runs and his cap hits 4.55, like he's 7+ all day on the open market. Never mind where the cap's going to go over the next decade. Oh, yeah. It's if you were to play that chip, it's an immensely valuable one.
Yeah.
Kind of like Giordano was when I used to say.
This is one of Rhett's
this guy
backpack items.
Well, it just like I think you're looking at the future of this team and going, okay, if he's a key piece of it, you figure that out. But if you feel like, okay, he doesn't want to hang around, it might be a struggle to get him done because he might have to endure some pain and he might not want to do that, then maybe it's like, okay, we'll find a landing spot that's amicable for everybody, but it's a win-win. The new team gets a rock star defenseman, and the Flames get back a king's ransom, maybe a live player and a first rounder and type of thing. And he might be a young Rasmus Andersson, a guy that's up and coming, that's in the minors for somebody. I don't know. I think Connie's got a lot of work ahead of him, but some positive stuff that could be dragged out of it based on how things unfold here. And again, I don't know what Rasmus Andersson and his management and his family feels of what he wants to do long-term. That's another thing that factors in.
Where are you at on Wolf? Because it was big time humming and hawing about what is he, what isn't he before the season. Last week, you said he's absolutely an NHL goalie. Now the question is, how high is the ceiling? There hasn't been a goalie win a Calder Trophy in 15 years, and I'm not hearing his name. And I'm hearing a lot about Mishkov and Celebrini. And
I put it out yesterday.
I'm like, what are we doing here? This is very rare what we're watching.
Okay, so if he's not one right now, he better be two. Like, I know Mishkov's getting lots of love, and East plays out East, so people get to watch him, a lot more than, staying up to watch, Wolf play in a Wolf play San Jose at a 10:30 Eastern start or 10:47 Eastern start. Wolf, where I'm at with him is he continues to progress. My heart hurt for him the other night. He should have got a shutout.
Totally.
There should be a rule when you make a save like that. It doesn't matter if it crosses the line. I'm sorry. It's like you give, tie goes to the runner. Tie goes to a great save.
That's right, yeah.
And I'm sorry, you're getting the shutout. LA, you weren't going to win anyway, so give him the shutout. But I don't know, Boomer, was it you or was it you, Pinder, that said all this guy has done everywhere he's gone has been elite. And, we're seeing him grow right in front of our eyes. Still, what is the ceiling? What is, 1 week is not going to change that. To me, it's one season or an 18-month span. But he's on a nice trajectory, and it's really nice to see because he's a talented goaltender. He's got some fire. He's got some jam to him. I still feel he's got to be perfect a lot of times just because he's not going to be able to get hit with the puck a lot of times. I watched Anthony Stolarz last night in that Toronto game. He made some saves because he's 6'6". That's really what it was. He just got hit with a few that, good chances in tight. I'm like, this guy, there's just no room because he's too big. Wolf's never going to get that. But where I'm at with him is, a lot more is chipped away on what I think of him in a week because of what I'm seeing. Like, it's another couple real nice performances. He's legit.
Yeah, we were talking about it earlier. I said, it's like you're waiting for the shoe to drop. Yeah, he was good, but he's, even if it's not the size thing. But what about this or what about that? And then you keep watching. Oh, okay, so yeah, he's making some saves, and yeah, he's now making some saves. Maybe a bigger goal he doesn't make just because he's so athletic and his feet are so good and his reaction is,
and he's done it in other leagues,
yeah,
and other scenarios, and there's a bit of a trend here. Wait a minute,
it's not like he just got small. He's been the smallest undersized goalie that no one thought could do it.
And the nets aren't
midget.
Bigger. Yeah,
it's Bantam and Pee Wee and then Junior and then the American League. He's been too good for every single league he's played in until this one, and he's looking pretty damn good here in his first full year.
Well, you look at it like there's a cycle of goaltending of young goalies coming. Like, he's one of them, and he's damn good. Now, I'm excited. Sometimes you wish you could have a magic wand and just hand somebody 3 years experience and go, what are you going to look like at 28 years old or 27 years old as a goaltender? Is really, they start to mentally and physically mature. He's not, the crazy part is he's not going to get worse. He's just going to get better and better. And we're already seeing some real special things. And Vladar, like, give him credit. Like, I think he's not some pushover. He's a goalie, and he's a legit goalie, and he has some value. I don't know if Connie goes to move him, I don't know what he gets. He definitely needs to get a second rounder, a minimum for him. I think that's what they paid for him, but he's a nice player. And
they got him for a third when they had Swayman and he in the minors in Boston.
Right. Sorry. So third, I mean, I'm sorry, you're getting more of it than a third for him. I think, I think Connie could do that. Again, I'm not in these meetings or whatever, but I just think, Connie has the luxury of waiting on that and seeing how this tandem unfolds this year.
Have you had much of an opportunity to see Winnipeg this year?
Yes. I did their game the other night. They're serious, man. Like,
they went into Madison Square Garden last night, win 6-3.
Dogs last night.
To move to 15-1. Obviously, the 7-0 on the road. Scheifele 2 goals, Connor 2 goals. The goalie's good.
Greatest start in NHL history.
Yeah. So I was just kind of wanted to get your sense and take on them.
So we always pick apart teams and go, okay, because of the cap, they're this, or they need more here, or geez, I'd like that number 4 defenseman to not, he should probably be a 6. Like, the way they're constructed, like, there's no imbalances in their roster. And, I come back to health. Cole Perfetti is a player. It's taken him a little longer to arrive. Okay. Velarde, health was a big problem last year. Nikolai Ehlers' health has been always a knock against him. You get a healthy team, and then you can start to look and go, geez, we got some depth here. I've always said, I'm biased because we played with Pye, and I've known Adam Lowry since he was a kid, and that, like, I think he's the best third line centerman in the league. And he can climb up the lineup, but he's a great leader. He's a bastard to play against, and I say that endearingly. They have depth in every position where you're like, okay, that's a nice third line. That fourth line is really serviceable. Boy, and I look at it as Winnipeg is not a sexy market, as we all know. So you have to draft and develop and use the CBA to keep your players there. But then all of a sudden last year, it's like, we all are like, Winnipeg's done because Scheifele and Hellebuck, they're out of there. And on the same day, Chevy comes out and goes, yeah, I got these guys committed 8 years. And it like decent money, like Hellebuck at $8 million. Like, it's insane. Or what is it? Eight
and a quarter.
Yeah, but it was not a hometown discount, but it wasn't a crazy overpay at all.
It wasn't a disgusting overpay where you're like, I've always said some of these markets, before McDavid was in Edmonton, it was Edmonton, it's Winnipeg, it's Ottawa, it's Carolina, maybe not the sexiest on paper. So it's like, you got to do the market tax, add an extra $1 million on if a guy wants to go there as a free agent. But everybody who's there wants to be there. And there's just no weakness. Like, I look at Cheveldayoff being patient with Logan Stanley. And now he's a player. Like, he's a big, long, mean defenseman. And the game I did, it's like goal, fight. I'm like, this guy has really arrived. And I look at his comparables, like, I think he might have a little bit better hands than Carson Soucy, but maybe he's Nicholas Hague from Vegas. Just a guy who's like in that slot and really tough to play against. And Morrissey just has gotten better, and Morrissey knows how to play. And I look at that group, Pionk, Mello, like, just they play hard, they play mean. The goalie makes some saves, and they're like a machine. They just go out there and play. And we'll see. They're going to have a dip at some point. They're going to have some adversity, all of that. But you asked me watching them, man, oh man, like the only game they lost was against the Leafs. And if there was 3 more minutes in that game, they would have tied it up. They might have won it in regulation because they got to 5-4, I think. And then there was an empty net or 2 empty nets or something like that. But it was like, I think the Leafs were up 5-1 because Hellebuck didn't have a good game. And you could tell they were just a little off that night. And then they got their game going as it went along. And the Leafs held on by the end. So I look at Winnipeg. They're a serious, serious team.
They were able to navigate some rough waters. If you go back to when Jacob Trouba wanted out, they held on and they waited. Well, we'll trade you when it's good for us. They got Pionk, among other things, in that deal. And now Pionk's been great for them. Yeah. The whole Wheeler, Scheifele, remember Rick Bowness left and crushed them at the end of the year.
Paul Maurice quit. Said the same thing.
Paul Maurice quit. And now Scheifele, they get him re-upped. They get the goaltender re-upped. And then it was the Dubois thing.
Yeah.
Well, they
get Velarde and Rasmus Kupari and Velarde. You watch that, if you watch any amount of the games, he's almost the straw stirrer in the drink for them a lot of nights. Yep. They have had some tough things dealt to them, situations dealt to them. And credit to Cheveldayoff. I've been critical because it feels like sometimes he sits on his hands and he doesn't get enough done. And maybe you just can't because of the market or whatever. But those were potentially tough scenarios that he, if not hit a home run, they've came out better on the other end of it.
Well, and he spent some currency. Like, we had him on our show and I've talked to him. Like, I played with Chevy in the minors and stuff. You talked to him. Like, they've spent some currency. Like, they went and got Toffoli. They went and got Monahan. Like, they added, and it cost them, draft picks and stuff. Like you said, we've gone all in. We've tried to add some currency to our group to let them know. Didn't work out. I didn't love their playoffs. They stunk against Colorado. They just fell apart. The goalie wasn't making saves. Their system wasn't there, and Colorado just turned up the heat and ran him out of the building. But I look at just the sneaky moves. Nemestikov coming back, like Niederreiter, like not the sexiest of names, but really good players, like really efficient players. And I talked about that third line, Niederreiter, Lowry, and Appleton. Like Appleton kind of returns again and just a solid player. But you mentioned like Kupari, Iafallo, like Barron, like just big, speedy, tough to play against. Like I look at this group and I think they've got it all put together. And you mentioned like, I don't know, something was bad there. Like, I don't know if it was the culture. I don't know if it was certain people. Like, have you guys watched that, I don't know what the hell it was called. The Prime thing, the 6 episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought Trouba's was the worst and the weirdest. Like everybody else's, I don't know if you guys would watch it, but go and watch it. Everybody else was like out for dinner with his teammates and kind of, behind the scenes. And Trouba's like out for dinner with like some art dealer, like from New York City. And you're like, well, who's that guy? Like, why is he, this guy and his wife, and the wife's going, I don't even watch hockey. You're like, all right, well, like,
are you on the show?
Yeah. And like Trouba, his release, which is kind of cool, he's very artsy. So he actually like paints and does art and body art. And you'll see it in the special. But I thought his was the most unique. It was like, there was nothing. If you would have taken the hockey part out of Jacob Trouba, you're like, that's just a person who's in the art district in New York City. Like you had no idea that's the captain of the New York Rangers. It was a very, I thought his piece was so much different than everybody else's. The Forsberg one showed him battling through an injury. And, I like that, seeing behind the scenes, because we don't have access that much as fans anymore, or you want more access. But I thought Trouba's was like way in left field compared to everybody else's.
We saw our first Flames Amazon game on Monday. Have you had a chance to catch any of the Amazon broadcasts? What are your thoughts?
I've watched every one of them. Like I have friends on that broadcast. All of us, Amazon's hired a lot of U.S. talent, right? Because a lot of the Canadian talent has non-compete and all of that fun stuff. I think the broadcast is like anything. It's a work in progress. Like people like my mom's not finding Amazon Prime. Like, hey, where's that flame? Not tonight. Not like you just got to condition people to go there. Right. Because I'll be honest, I went to turn it on my TV and I'm like, it's not there. Oh, forgot it's on, Prime. So then you dial it up on the app or on the computer. It is the wave of the future. I've watched Dallas Star games on Victory Plus, the new app that I'm actually an investor in. And I think it's an unbelievable setup there. Like they've done a great job. The parent company is actually out of Calgary.
Yeah, I know a couple of guys in there. It's crazy. I think they started some kids TV channel. And
it's called Cadoodle.
Yeah.
Neil Gruninger is the CEO, and Neil's a good friend of mine. But they're honestly, that's the wave of the future. Is streaming and having access for your fans that, it's almost like creating your own channel. And they've done that for Dallas and they've done that for Anaheim. I think Amazon Prime, Adnan, I'm a fan of. I think they're the people that they brought in. They might not be the ones that they end with, but they brought in some good people. Andy Petrillo is a good friend of ours, and I think she does a great job. So I like the broadcast. I like everything attached to it, but I still think from just a semantics aspect, this is ground zero. So they're just working out all the bugs.
They'll be ready when those national rights are up again in Canada, I'd suggest. Noodles.
I think that's what's so brilliant about it for them is they got a 2-year head start. Yeah. That's what they did is they go, hey, we're gonna debug this for the next 2 years. And then when the rights are up, they have nothing but cash. So we'll see how it goes.
One of the things we talked about it briefly, I guess, yesterday, just it's little things. I like that they had the setup in the concourse where sometimes if you go to Ryan Leslie or whoever downstairs, you have to kind of be quiet because you're right outside the locker room. Well, that's no way to bring energy to the game or to the broadcast where you have to be kind of hushed. You got to add, hey, we're back here at Calgary. We're doing this. It's the game. Yeah. And then the other thing that when the game was over, ordinarily that's it. It's a 3-1 final here in Vancouver. Whatever is next. Off they go to Toronto to watch the thing, and then they might come back to the rink. They hung around. All right, so let's talk about the game.
Yeah.
Let's go back up to the guys in the broadcast booth. Let's go to downstairs and we'll hear from one of the players. Let's talk about it wasn't snap, it's over.
Yeah.
I liked having a little let it breathe a little bit. I'm still watching. The game's just finished. What else can you tell me about the game? I like
I like that too, because traditional linear TV, it's like going back to Sports Center, going back to Connected, whatever they got, and into the studio host, and they throw to whatever else they've got or their highlight show. This is a package. So they're going to sit around and BS and engage the fan. And I don't, again, it's how we consume our information now. Like, that's what you want. Like, you want instantaneous, you want interaction, you want to see behind the scenes. I think they're going to be, as they get more comfortable, they'll be more creative. And that's my point is, like, I like the broadcast now. I love all of our broadcasts. Like I did last night with Kenzie Lalonde, and it was the first woman play-by-play for TSN. Wow. She was fantastic. But like, it's just, things are changing, dynamics are changing. And I don't mind companies that challenge, oh, this is how we've always done it. Okay, well, so what? Let's try it this way. Let's look at something different. And to me, they've got a kind of a blank canvas to do that.
Now, Jack is telling me in my ear here, we got a message. It's Mike Camilleri's kid has messaged the show.
Oh dear.
Because you were talking about Camilleri's kid saw this this highlight of you or something.
Oh my God! Is it me just getting rinsed here? Of course.
We're talking about.
Well,
just the greats.
All right. How about some defense here? What are you doing?
Come on, Burge.
No.
Matthew Schneider, come on, get your stick on puck. But what was I doing?
You could even hook back then. What are you doing? You don't know it's Bure?
You can't.
It's not you. It's the Highlander jersey. No one can work in those.
We'll take another. We can take.
They should have, back then you could have chopped his leg off. He might have got a 2-minute penalty.
Hey.
What am I? My D are just letting him go. That's Ole. What's that sport where the guy's the matador?
Yeah.
The matador. That's what he's doing. Ole.
Yeah. We go to Warner's whiteboard.
Oh dear.
Rhett likes to kind of go on and. Yeah, Rhett gives us some in-depth analysis when we watch some of the.
I do love the 2-pad stack here.
Wow,
kind of
wrong way, but
kind of a poke check.
That second angle is not kind.
David Marcoux would not be happy with this.
No, it's a bad play.
That's a bad angle,
play
James.
all around. But how about the defenseman just should have taken their gear right off.
Listen, you've got a defenseman sitting here. Don't be yipping at the D.
Well,
you're paid. You know what you're paid.
It's tough for him to go through. Like, this is direct pass. Here we go. Look at the D. Here. Whoa, hey, where it go?
Hey, whoa.
Nice there. Where are you going? Where are you going?
They didn't know it was Bure. They thought it was somebody.
Thought it was a Hatcher, apparently.
Yeah, they thought it was Gerald did it.
His arm off. Do something to him. I mean, listen, he's not going to get an easier goal than that. I will tell you that. Like, I'm very frustrated, very sad in my Captain Highlander jersey. I will say this in my defense, there was a night, and maybe Jack, you won't be able to pull this up because I think it was even like that was 1994. But in Vancouver, I started a game, and I think I got a shutout, and Bure had three breakaways on me that night.
Come
3 or
on.
4. And I stopped them all, but 2 hit the post. So
no room, Noodles. You didn't leave me.
So just because it's amazing. You think back to that era. It was hook and hold and muck.
Yeah.
How does the guy get 3 breakaways? That's how good Bure
was. Yeah.
But you know what? Pavel Bure, Ray Whitney told me when he played with him in Florida, Bure, you know how the winger always covers the offside defenseman? Bure would let the defenseman go in and actually push him. So he would want the puck to miss the net and come around so that he could get a breakaway. And so he'd let his D go all the time. So if the D could actually get a cross-seam pass, that guy was never going to be covered by Bure. The other thing he would do, he would hit his grandmother head first into the boards to get an empty netter.
Yes.
That guy hunted goals like it was going to feed him food that night, because that guy, empty netters, like he was an animal, a dog on a bone. So I
Ovi last year, he hit all those goals. Get out of my way.
I know. Do you guys think Ovi's going to do it?
It's not if. Is it this year? That's the question, right?
I think this year.
I think he could. Yeah.
His team is better. Like it's actually like the team, they go and get Chikrin, you get Mangiapane, you get PLD if he wants to, work that night.
Yeah.
But their team is a lot better. They go and get Logan Thompson. Charlie Lindgren's had a good start. Like they got a better product. Tom Wilson's healthy and had a nice start to the season. Like I look at it, Dylan Strom's their number one centerman. But I look overall, their team is better. They're having success, and Ovi's a part of it. Like he's not just like, hey, we're going to play hockey and try and get Ovi a goal tonight. They're right in the mix in winning games, and Ovi's a part of it. So I think it kind of goes hand in hand. It'll be interesting to see if he's 15 goals shy, kind of down the stretch, like how it looks. But right now, they look like they're enjoying hockey.
It's a great spot for them because even some of the young guys, I forget who we were
talking
to. McMichael has been scoring, so the young guys are coming of age, and they're all in it. They all want it to happen.
Oh yeah,
they're all invested in him getting this record. So
yeah, no, they look good. Like we'll see them tonight. I'm watching. That they play the Leafs tonight on a back-to-back, so we'll see how that one unfolds. But pretty good. Looks like a good matchups here. It should be good.
Again, I don't know why Camilleri's kid. Like, why would he send that in to us? I don't know.
I can't watching the show. It's good that he's still watching.
I don't know.
I thought Jack was on my side.
Jack's on no one's side.
Here's the thing: like he's already, he made me sit on hold for 6 to 7 minutes.
Yeah,
he's throwing me under the bus. Like,
just invoice us double today.
Change my background all the time. I got to run like an internet cord all the way up. Like this cord has to come from my basement just so I can hardwire. Like it's a process. I'm going back to the casino. You guys are getting calls from the casino.
Full disclosure, I did send him a message. I'm like, can you find this? I'm already on it. So,
not hard to find. It's on every top 10 for Pavel Fury.
You're a beauty, pal. Appreciate you. Have a great week.
All right, guys. We'll chat soon. Take care.
Jamie McLennan join us here on the Crystal Waters Plumbing and Heating Insider Hotline.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to check out more of our content right here on the Flames Nation YouTube page. We had a bunch of great long form interviews. You can check out some videos we've done as well outside of the studio. And of course, if you want more writing or merchandise stuff, flamesnation.ca or nationgear.ca. Appreciate you watching.